Hey YouTube, RicoKnows here. Going to talk to you guys about the 2025 NFL Draft. You guys know the deal. I'm breaking down every single team, every single draft pick, and if you want to see all the other draft reviews for your favorite team or any other team, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to the homepage, search RicoKnows, get to the profile, and then there's all these different tabs to choose from. There's videos, shorts, playlists, live. By the way, you want to see live? There's some good stuff under the live tab, I promise you. Great stuff under the live tab, okay? But if we go back over here and we look at the playlist, in the playlist right here, you will see what you're looking for. You're going to see all the other teams that I've evaluated, okay? And today we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go talk about these Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? What up? 92, Jimmy Johnson, locker room. How about them Cowboys? All right, I'm looking at these Dallas Cowboys, and if I'm being clear, I was going to say for the best draft of my lifetime, but not necessarily because obviously I was alive during the 80s and the 90s, so I remember a lot of great drafts. But they haven't had a good draft in a while. They haven't had a draft that I'm excited about in a while. And then you go and see this year's draft, and as they're making the picks, I'm doing the live stream, right? You go back and check the live tab. You go watch my live stream during the NFL draft when these picks were made. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind for the first time in a long time. They figured it out. Now, let's talk about who they drafted, why they drafted them, when they drafted them, what they could have done and should have done, and all that other stuff, okay? First and foremost, first round, they go and take Tyler Booker. Now, some people might think this is a little too early to take a guard. If you didn't know, in the pecking order of value in positions, you don't take a guard this early. Well, he's the best guard in the draft, former 5-star. You got to go with it. You got to do it. The man's been starting at Alabama for like 3 years, winning every rep. He's great. And you got to replace a future Hall of Famer. You just had a Hall of Famer retire. You drafted BB last year out of K-State. Shout out to him. You need to find another answer at guard, and Tyler Booker's here. Works for me, man. I'm telling you that right now. I think it was a great pick. Yes, it was a need pick, not necessarily the best player available, but definitely a need pick for them. And that's important that you start drafting that way. And maybe a mixture of the two, right? You get all your needs met, and then you start looking for best available. Shout out to my ex-wife. Okay, so anyways, you go to the second round. Donovan Ezekuru. Now, I don't know how to say his last name for real. I just call him Donovan. I just call him Easy, Ezzy. Ezzy with the hezzy for shezzy. Donovan Ezekuru. But when I did you're going to hear this a lot. I did a pre-draft podcast. I did one for every position group. They're on the live tab here on YouTube. You go watch them. I evaluated every single player before the draft. I didn't know who they were going to. Okay, don't call me a homer. I'm not a Cowboys fan. All the people, oh my God, you got me mixed up with some other dude who looks like me. I'm going to tell you, though, when I came up to Donovan here, I put him number 4 among all my edge rushers. Oh, but Rico, that's impossible. There's someone said, no. It's very possible. I put him at 4. And the phrase I used to describe him, I said he's got the moves like Jagger. That's the only way I can describe it to these kids. I hope you understand what I'm saying. He's got dance moves for days. He's got pass rushing moves for days. He can do everything. There's not a move he doesn't have in his repertoire. He's got it all, bro. You ever been on the dance floor and seen a guy with one dance move? One dance move all night, the same dance move all night? You're like, yo, bro, you don't Dougie to this. Oh, I'm dug in. You don't do that here. There are certain pass rushers in the NFL that have one pass rushing move, and the whole time I'm looking at it like, yo, what is this? They perfected the club. I'm Reggie White. I'm doing this club. I'm going to snatch and spin and blah, blah. Bro, Donovan is out there, and he does it all. This is a pro's pro. You know, everybody brags about Mike Green leading the country in sacks, and I'm not excited about it. I don't care. Why don't I care? Why wasn't he really high? Well, because I talk about character concerns, all that. No, it's because Mike Green plays in the Sun Belt, and because he got 3 sacks in a bowl game that put him in the lead. You know who led the country in sacks before that bowl game? This guy. And if you go watch the tape, he's getting his sacks against the SEC and the ACC on the schedule. Not against Duquesne. Not against some other school you never heard of. You're like, oh, they got a football team? No, he's getting his sacks against real players, draft picks, and he's doing well, and he's just dominating. He was leading the country in sacks, 16.5 sacks. I think this is an NFL-ready edge rusher. Highest floor you can find when it comes to edge rushers. I think he's ready to go right now. He ready to go right now. What's the best thing in the world? Guys, what's the best thing in the world? Some of you guys don't know. I can tell you the best thing in the world. It's when you go talk to your girl and you're like, babe, I'm hungry. Get dressed. We're going out to eat. And she's like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go right now. Not, oh, let me go change. Let me do my makeup. Let me do this. It's been 30 minutes. I'm starving. Ruined my whole meal. I love when I look at her and I go, yo, babe, we ready to go? Oh, yeah, I'm ready to go, babe. Let me put on my shoes. And she's putting on some damn slides. Because we ain't wasting all this time. That's how it is with Donovan here. He's one of the best draft picks out there because he's ready to go right now. You don't have to wait. There's no years of development needed. He's ready to go. Love the first two picks in this draft. I think they address needs, and I just think that they're very good players for their position groups. Very good players. Great draft picks. A+. A1, and I don't put no sauce on any of my meat. Pause. Next, you got Siobhan Revell. Siobhan Revell Jr., if I can give it to you straight, I think it's a bad draft pick. The Cowboys have a tendency of doing this, right? They'll go and make picks that leave me underwhelmed. For the first time in my life, I was like, thank goodness they didn't draft everybody from TCU. It's crazy the way the Cowboys do this. They send their scouts about in an 80-mile radius and say, find an NFL team for me, right? It's just unheard of. But Siobhan Revell, this is a guy who tore his ACL, I think, week 3 or 4 of the season, done for the whole year. And I don't like defensive backs with lower body injuries. I just don't like it. You don't know how they're going to recover. You don't know if they lost a step. And at corner, you lose a step. That's a lot. Difference between a completion and an interception or a pass breakup, a first down or a touchdown. I don't like it. Now, if he recovers and he gets back to his old form, yes, you got yourself a corner that's 6'2", 195 and plays well. But if you're looking at the Cowboys' track record when it comes to defensive backs, we had Duron, right? Duron Bland, the dude, the baller. We got one of these other guys, baller. They got players that can just play, right? Oh, he's an all-pro. He's an all. What happens when they get injured? What happens when these guys get injured and Diggs never finds his form again? But he had 7 interceptions, Rico. I don't give a shit what he had. He got terrible lower body injury. We're not here anymore. I don't like that. Find defensive backs who don't have injuries. One of the greatest things that would have happened, 3 picks before Revell goes off the board. Azaria Thomas. The Jets take him. Would have been really cool. Azaria Thomas, if you didn't know, his brother's on the Cowboys. Made it as an undrafted free agent. It would have been really cool to have 2 brothers on the team. And Azaria, for me, is better than Revell. And you guys can talk about Azaria. Well, he's a cover corner, but he ran a slow 40. Shut up, bro. Turn on the tape on Saturdays. The man plays well. So, all in all, I hope Revell works out for them. I hope he gets back to his form 100%, and then it'll be a steal in that regard. It'll be a steal because you got him in the 3rd round. 76? Is that what they wrote? 76? What is that? I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what that says. I'm still trying to figure out what that says. Pick number 761, I think the graphic says. I don't know what that is. That's wild. Whoever made this graphic is trash. Shout out to Cowboys Wire. Next pick, Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue finally getting into rotation at running back. Yes, the running back room's loaded at Texas. Every time Jaden Blue touched the ball at Texas, it was a touchdown. That's what it felt like to me. He was just to the house. The man's got juice. He's fast. I think this is a terrible thing for the little guy, Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn. They don't need him anymore. They got themselves a little bigger guy with more breakaway speed. Deuce Vaughn will make you miss in space. Deuce Vaughn needs to go be on the Olympic flag football team. He will embarrass the shit out of everybody. That'd be awesome. Find those little guys for that. But Jaden Blue, very good player. Young. I don't think he should have entered the draft. I think he should have went back to school and had another monster year. But, you can't tell these kids. I shouldn't say maybe you don't know. You can't tell these kids not to chase the money and not to pursue their dream of being an NFL football player. They're going to do it. And I'm pretty sure he's ecstatic to be on the Cowboys. You're a 5th-round pick, bro. It's not going to work out too well. 5th-round pick, running backs, no matter how good you are, they just don't want to use you for the most part. They got more money invested in somebody else. Hard to get those reps. So I hope Jaden Blue works out. I like him, but I hope he works out. Shamar James. If you watched the pre-draft podcast on linebackers, you know how I feel about Shamar James. Shamar James dominating at Florida this year. Looked great. He's very young. He should have stayed in school. He would have been a 2nd, 3rd round pick at worst if he stayed in school this year. Shamar James is great. but he only had 1 year in college that he looked great. Remember, as a true freshman in 2022, played, that's fine. 2023, dislocates his knee or something. He misses the whole year. And then 24 last year, he dominates. He's a good player. He's a will linebacker, if you ask me. He's a little undersized, about 220 or so. Former 4-star out of Alabama. Mobile, to be exact. But I like Shamar James. I do. And I think there's some potential there. I think it's a hidden gem, if you will. And I hate to say that coming out of the SEC, being one of the best linebackers I saw, all this stuff. But drafted in the 5th round, I'm going to say he's an NFL hidden gem and sneaky good. And I'm glad they finally picked a guy that I evaluated properly. I evaluated this man very high. Okay, Johnny Cornelius, first 2 years at Rhode Island, then transferred to Oregon for the last 2 years, been starting right. He's been a 4-year starter, just at different schools. And this is some news to you guys out there. 6'5", 300 pounds, 308-ish. What I would say is when you look at a guy like this, please understand that you too can sign at an FCS school and still make it. Shout out to all the high school kids who don't want to hear me when I tell them, oh, you got to go FCS, you got to go Division II. They're like, oh no, I'm FBS. I'm waiting for the Power 4. I'm waiting for the Group 5. You know, you're an idiot, bro. But Johnny Cornelius just did it. Earn your keep. Be all conference at a previous school or at a previous location, then move up. When I watch the tape on the Johnny Cornelius, he is the opposite of a rhino. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain. Anytime a player doesn't move fluidly on tape, I say they have the dexterity of a rhino. Maybe you don't know what that means. Let's use a different word than dexterity. I don't know what kind of people I'm talking to. The flexibility, the fluidity in movement, right? For me, Johnny Cornelius is not a rhino. He can actually move really well for a tackle for a man of his size. Now, I think he's a little undersized to play tackle. I'll give you an example. Tyler Booker up there. Tyler Booker is 6'5", 3-something. Like, he's bigger, and he's a guard. So maybe he's just a giant and he's elite. That's why he's a first-round pick, right? But you're going to see that difference in size and strength between the two of them. Now, Johnny, kick-stepping with the best of them, can get out on the edge, stop those edge rushers. In the Big Ten, they couldn't get around him. Now, in the NFL, what will happen is you'll out-kick yourself out of protection, and they'll come back inside, or they'll stunt you, or they'll spin back inside. So you got to be careful. But if I know you're just coming off the edge, full-blown, ears pinned back, 3rd and long, and you're just rushing at my quarterback coming off the edge from the outside. Oh, my goodness. So Johnny Cornelius you're not going to get to that quarterback. He can kick step and get out there and stop it. He's great. So hope it works out for him. I think he's added depth to the offensive line. Jay Toa, 3-year starter at UCLA, coming out of high school, went to USC initially. It didn't work out for one semester. He enrolled early. It didn't work out, so then he goes to UCLA. Been a leader at UCLA ever since. The man is like 6'2", 6'3", 330 pounds or so. Just a huge, maybe 340. Big ass dude in the A-gap, zero technique, whatever you want to call it, somewhere inside, over the center. He's ruining snap counts, right? This guy's awesome. He's inside. He's heavy. He's doing great things. Shout out to him. He's got a brother, not the same name. His brother's last name was Ikea. The dude out of Baylor got drafted to the Browns just like a year or two ago. They're brothers, and they're kind of, and I'm not talking about like brothers from another mother type deal. I'm just saying they're brothers. That's the word I got on when I did my pre-draft analysis. But when I look at Jay Toa, the only way I can describe him is he's a tree stump. And in the NFC East, it is very necessary for you to find tree stumps. Find guys who are up front and you can't move them, because you got to defend against that tush push from the brotherly love from Philly, right? So we got to stop Philly's first down tush push thing. Let's go get a bunch of tree trunks and put them in the A-gap. That's exactly what they did. They went and got one. And when I reviewed his tape, I can vividly remember right before I reviewed his tape, I reviewed Nazir Stackhouse tape from Georgia. Both very similar big guys. This young man was much more athletic. Much more athletic. So I thought it was a good draft pick. I did, especially when you go into the 7th round. You're just taking flyers on guys. They had 3 7th-round draft picks. It's good stuff. Next pick, they take Phil Maffa. Shout out to my pops, man. I took my, true story, took my father to go watch Phil Maffa when he was in high school. He was at Grayson. They won the state title, all-time great team. And I can remember they were number 1 in the state. And I read they have a Clemson commit at running back. And I was like, yo, I want to take my dad to go see a Clemson football player, a running back. Let's go see him, man. So we jump in the car. We drive 2.5 hours to go to Grayson. We go to Grayson, high school football game. We get there. There's some other players on this Grayson team, really good players, all in Division I, a bunch of great players. Good, loaded team. You go to Georgia 7A football, loaded teams. And they're playing another school called Collins Hill. And we go sit on the visitor side. This was during COVID. You got to wear those masks and everything. We sit on the visitor side. And we're just sitting up in the stands. We're watching. Now, my father was a football coach. I was a football coach. I was a player. I was a coach. Father was a coach. And we're sitting there watching the game. And we're getting a little frustrated because we're here to see this elite running back. And when we're watching him, he doesn't look elite at all. He just looked kind of average. We've seen elite running backs. Shout out to Frederick Collins. We've seen some amazing players in the past. But what we didn't realize is we were watching two juggernaut teams. We didn't realize it. It was weird. It was like we were watching two equivalent teams. We didn't realize. They played each other again in the state championship, a rematch. And Grayson won again. But when we watched the game, the best player on the field wasn't Phil Maffa. He didn't really impress us that much. Collins Hill had a quarterback. He was number 21. And he was kind of crafty. And we was kind of crafty. And they had a wide receiver, number 12. And he looked kind of slippery out there. He was making plays. But they couldn't quite get a drive going and piece it all together. And both teams, I think, at the time were 4-0 when they were playing. It was early on in the season. Maybe 3-0. I don't want to get it wrong. But I can remember we watched the game, and we were just kind of like, And we got back in the car. We had a long drive home, and it was late. It's 11 o'clock at night, something like 10:30, 11 o'clock. We got to drive all the way back home. And we get in the car. I was in my Tundra. I was in my truck. We get in the truck, and we start driving. We hadn't said a word yet. We just kind of left in shock. We were left in like, we just saw the two best teams in the state, or two of the better teams at the time. We thought two of the better teams in the state. Like, what is this? They weren't very good. I wasn't impressed. This is 7A football in Georgia. We come from Southern California, Southern section. We come from the greatest teams you're going to ever see. Who are these guys? And sure enough, we get in the car, and I make a mental note. I'm like, oh, yeah, that other kid was this, that. And my father looks at me and goes, Reek, he goes, I think I could have won that game if I was coaching Collins Hill. I think I could win a lot of games with that other team. Yeah, that number 12 and that number 21, we could just make it work. And so we get home, and it's in my mind. I'm not letting it go. We get home, and I go sit at my desk. And at the time, I'm not RicoKnows. I'm a first sergeant in the United States Army. I'm an active duty first sergeant. I'm not entrenched in college football rosters. I'm not entrenched in recruiting the top 250 players every year. I'm not doing any of that work at the time. I'm watching the games. I know the players. Trust me. I'm telling you, I didn't know anything about football at that time, but I knew more than anybody. But it just wasn't the same, right? It wasn't the same level of detail that I am now. And I remember I went home, and everybody's going to sleep. It's late. And I go to my computer, and I just go straight up, and I just Google, and I start looking up Collins Hill roster. Because I thought that 12 and that 21, I thought, man, those guys could probably play on Saturday. And what I didn't realize until later that night was I was looking at an entire team of Division I athletes versus another team of Saturday players. It was equivalent rosters, and that's why it made it look so stalemate-ish. You're not going to have a 250-yard rusher in 7A against the two best teams in the state. You're not going to have a 100-yard receiver. Everything's going to be earned and fought for because you're going against another Division I player, and that's where you like metal sharpens metal, right? So I did a quick Google search on that 21 for Collins Hill, and 21, it was a quarterback named Sam Horn. And he's slated to be the starting quarterback in Missouri right now. He's competing with Bo Pribula. And we saw Sam Horn. And then who was that number 12? It was a junior wide receiver, and his name was Travis Hunter. And he didn't look like a Heisman Trophy winner. He looked good. He was making some plays, but he wasn't dominating the whole game like he's the greatest thing that ever set foot on the field, because you can't look that way when the other team is just as good, if not better than you. When we looked at Phil Maffa, while we were there to watch Phil Maffa, we were completely underwhelmed. Not fast enough to break away from anybody, kind of just like a bowling ball, rolling over guys. Eventually broke a couple of better runs in the second half and then took over the game in the fourth quarter. They just couldn't tackle him. He would get first downs. But we watched and we were like, oh, he's going to go to Clemson? Guy can't start at Clemson. And sure enough, he didn't play for like 2 years while at Clemson. He was getting developed and getting there. And here he is. My long story short, in my assessment of Phil Maffa, I've been very underwhelmed. I've never thought he was a Sunday player. Not after watching him in person. And that's not to say he won't make the team. That's not to say that he couldn't be developed. You go to one of the greatest colleges in America, Clemson, develops players for the NFL. You've been lifting weights for the last 5 years. You're probably better than somebody else who ended up at Alabama A&M or something, right? So I get it. But I'm just telling you, on any given Friday night in Georgia, I was watching two teams, and I just thought, not the guy. Like, there was a little slot receiver for Grayson. I think it was Justice Haynes. Yeah, Justice Haynes was the punt returner and the slot receiver for Grayson. He looked a little more slippery. Oh, by the way, he's the starting running back at Georgia Tech right now. He looked like a little better. He was a wide receiver, but he looked a little better than Phil Maffa, if you ask me. There was guys on that field. One of the linebackers, what's his name? He's got a Hispanic name. He's a Cuban background, but I spoke to his parents. But Fernando Sanchez. Yeah, he starts at Central Michigan right now. Linebacker. He was on the field that day. It's hard to tell how good people are when everybody's equivalent. But I can tell you that I've never felt Phil Maffa was the best player on the field at any field he's ever been on, including high school. I never thought it. Never. So I thought it was a bad draft pick. I don't think you need to draft a running back with a low ceiling that late in the draft. 7th round, you could leave him undrafted, or you could get Rocket Raheem Sanders. A lot more explosive, a lot more dominant, a lot more impressive. But they didn't do it. Okay, last pick in their draft, Tommy Akinbesoto. Dude, let me tell you about this guy, man. I didn't know much about him. He's been starting at Maryland for a while. So I'm like, why don't I recognize this kid? He's been starting at Maryland. I should know this. I watch every FBS game. I sit down and watch every FBS game, guys. That's what I do with my life. That's what I do, right? Every football season, we watch all the games. I live stream as many as I can on a Saturday, and then Sunday we watch whatever we've recorded off of YouTube TV and ESPN Plus. Shout out to both of them. And then we go back on Monday and we hit an entire conference and we watch all the games. Got 2 monitors going. We watch 4 at a time on Saturday, but you got 2 monitors going. You can watch 2 games in 45 minutes and then go to another 2 and another 2. It's really easy when they're in conference and they're playing each other. Super easy. Preseason, a little tough. Out of conference schedule, a little tough. You end up watching about 70-something games. But you can do it. You just do it all day long, 8 hours a day, Sunday through Friday. And I have broken down my conference and every day. It's doable. Been doing it for a couple years now. And Maryland, when I get to Maryland, I watch the game. And I take notes, and I watch players, and I make note of things, and this is how I help the cappers. This is how I help the MVPs. Well, I go back to do a film study on Tommy here, because he's a big guy, and I'm doing for the draft review, and I can even show you my notes on what I wrote about him. Let me see if I have my notes. Transfer portal. Let me pull up Tommy here. Defensive tackle, right? Tommy. Look what I wrote. Right here, Tommy, Maryland, right? I wrote DMV kid, Charles Herbert Flowers High School, Jordan Phillips. I was talking about Jordan Phillips, just a note for me to talk about Jordan Phillips. And then I wrote no production, but he's been starting for years. Let me explain that again. No production, but he's been starting for years. When I watched the tape, this man's never getting to the ball. He don't make a play anywhere. He's not winning at the line of scrimmage. He's not causing any hurries, pass deflections. He's not getting any sacks or tackles. Nothing. Just a big body in the A-gap. Big body in the A-gap, nothing else. And once again, another one of those tree trunk guys. But the difference is Jay over here is making plays for days. Jay has all the impact in the world. Nothing over here. So I think this is a terrible draft pick. Don't think he'll make the team. Should probably be cut before August. I just don't see the value in it. And yes, teams are reaching on defensive tackles because they're trying to find them. Hell, 6 of them were drafted. 5 of them drafted in the first round? Yeah, 5 in the first round. It's absurd. They're treating defensive tackles like quarterbacks. And they're just drafting a bunch of them early and just hoping something lands and something hits. I can tell you that one's not going to hit for me. I think it was a terrible draft pick. All in all, I'm really encouraged by some of these draft picks and these first 3 right here. Well, these 3 in this corner over here. First 2 picks, and then you got Shamar James. I'm super excited about these 3 picks. Very excited. I hope these other 2 pan out. Everything else is just kind of like whatever, but very excited about these 3. Hope you learned something about the Cowboys. Sorry for the long tangent about Phil Maffa. Just to tell you, he wasn't that good of a football player when I saw him in person for the last 4 years. I just never been impressed with that. So it is what it is. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.